is now going to live.
Yeah.
So normally we have some kind of delay before starting. So that's why I always like to say welcome, welcome, and welcome again. So we have more time in order to be sure that we are really streaming, because today we have a very, very nice special guest. So it's time to welcome you to another edition of Let's Talk Business, organized by JCI European Senate. I'm Philippe Pereira.
And my name is Robert van Waart.
Welcoming today, Tom Commeine. Always have a problem with surnames. He's an entrepreneur, founding associated at businessdevelopment.be and partner of several IT startups. Next to that, he's a professional speaker and the former owner and trainer of Ziglar Training Systems Benelux. He's also a passionate member of JCI for over 20 years, more years than me, and currently JCI Senate Belgium President 2021. So welcome, Tom, and I have a question for you. Tell us, are we living the golden age of IT startups? And this is a bit funny because yesterday they got like a bit of a crush in Down Street. Down Street, no, Dow Jones, sorry, Down Street. Down Street is another one. Or are we living a bubble, another technological bubble? So Tom, it's up to you.
Well, Philip, thank you for the nice introduction and the question. I'm sure that we're living in the golden age of IT startups indeed. There's never been so much opportunity for any company to start in the IT business. The investments are still easy to attract for IT startups. If you compare it to any other sector or branch, there's millions going on in it. It's very sexy. Everybody loves technology. Everybody walks around with such a fancy
finally
smartphone.
Being a nerd is sexy.
Finally, being a nerd is sexy indeed. Yeah, absolutely. And you see it in schools. You see even girls these days are flocking into the IT departments of the high schools, the universities. So there's a lot going on.
I have heard that there is a new bachelor around a guy called Bill that now probably is also attracting a lot of people. I don't know. Bill Gates. Maybe you have heard about him.
Yeah, I know what you're suggesting, Philip. Well, it's and IT is also something that's in more and more parts of of our lives, visible and even invisible, a big part. We're talking not anymore just about apps for the smartphone or for your computer, but we're also talking about everything that has to do with connectivity in the home. When your fridge is getting empty, that you get a message that you have to order, and you have all kinds of connected devices going from security to your lights to your window blindings. Everything these days can be connected. So it's really giving all kinds of opportunities, and it's in the home, it's in the industry, it's in the point of sales. There are some shopping concepts being deployed right now where there are no more people at the cash register.
But I'm a kind of old guy, and I was here when it was the .com bubble. Yes, and there is this kind of feeling. Are we seeing this again? That's why it was my question. Is it possible that there is too much hype around this?
Well, as I used to say, I think last 10 depressions have been predicted by the journalists and by the negative people, and there have been really 2 or 3 happening. Everybody, the moment it goes a bit well on the stock exchange, says the next bubble is created. Every time there's a little downside on the bourse, everybody starts panicking. I think it's not necessary in the case of IT and IT startups, because we're just at the beginning. I mean, we're having the new technology coming on, like 5G, for example. This will create so much opportunities in new technologies, new opportunities for technologies in industries and areas that we haven't seen it yet. So I'm quite optimistic on all that. I think there are other industries that are having more severe problems at the moment with changing their industry to a more viable model for the future. When you see that legislation is pushing electric engines for 2026 here in Belgium, they will not be able to sell any combustion engines anymore. It will be electricity engines only. I think all car manufacturers are going through some extreme fast change. For a car manufacturer, 21 to 26 is incredible fast.
Tom, really, I have to think, Philippe, about 1 or 2 months ago, we had
Byron.
Byron.
Yes, my good friend Byron. Yes.
Yeah, we talked about Tesla.
He's the absolutely fanatic about the electric cars.
Yes, absolutely. I know.
And Tom, so he was really enthusiastic in the electric cars, etc. And what makes you, what creates your attention or the attraction to all the IT startups and your business? What makes you tick in that? Why that area? Why
the area? Because there's lots of innovation going on in the area, and I wasn't an IT consultant until 2007. Before, in 2000, I started originally in construction. I even had a director position in quite a big construction company. Then I had to go to the Belgian army for my duty. It still existed by then. And when I came back, somebody had made a lot of mistakes, so I had to clean up the mess. So then I started my own company, and I learned quite fast that I was a very bad salesman. I was good in engineering, but I was very bad at sales skills. So, and since my first mentor back then always had said to me on his books and tapes, you have to acquire the skills of sales. I went into acquiring the skills of skills, and I really proved to everybody that they were right. I couldn't sell because I almost had to sell my house, my furniture, and that really wasn't far from the truth, you know. I went selling construction in 1995, from July 1995 to February 1996, and I had more than 200 sales meetings, and I did not sell one.
My God. Okay. Yeah.
So everybody proved right that they were right. I couldn't sell until I read a book by Zig Ziglar, Secrets of Closing the Sale. And at the same moment, I had an advertisement in the newspaper that my wife, who was then still my girlfriend, had pushed in my arms, and she said, call this number, they need salespeople, and it's not in construction, maybe in another branch you'll be successful. So I called the number, and a guy answered, and he said, look, I don't want to waste your time. Go with one of my sales directors on the road to some sales meetings. If you think you can sell this too, we'll do it. So to make the story short, I went along, he sold. I said, wow, I recognized everything he did in the book from Zig Ziglar. Every pieces of the puzzle finally clicked together, and I started in that company as a salesperson. Out of 9 persons, I scored average to start, but I sold the first day already. That gave me the appetite, the click, everything fell into place, and by training using Zig Ziglar's material. I bought everything that Zig Ziglar had that year for about, I think it was $12,000 back in the time. That I invested in all his tapes and all his books and everything. And I even wrote him a letter a year later. Thank you, Mr. Ziglar, for all your material. Because 1 year later in that organization, I was #1 salesperson and promoted to sales director in that company. And from there on, I have been in the board of that company, learning everything that's management and that's creating companies. And with that experience, I changed my business back in 2000 from sales to sales training as a licensee for the Zig Ziglar training company from the USA for the Benelux. I did that for nearly 5 years, 2001 to end 2005. And then I got an irresistible offer from a Swiss company to turn around their sales organization European-wide. It was a chemical company and they were doing losses, and I turned them around. They made profits a whole year. All the skills that I acquired from Ziglar, I could use there, and that was so much fun. I had a great team there, and we really boosted that company. We turned around inside out. And that was a magnificent experience for me as a consultant. And after that year, we started, Luc Schmidt and myself, we started businessdevelopment.be. And we said to ourselves, what are the trends at the moment? And at that time, it was IT. It was already back in 2007, we saw that informatics, IT, that would be the future. So we decided businessdevelopment.be to make it a company for IT consultancy. And that's what I did. I worked with Trimble, a big USA company here in Belgium, to put the GIS, geographic information systems, on the market for the construction, 3D scanners, and that kind of devices. All very high tech. And I loved it as a consultant. And in 2012, I was national president of JCI. I think you both also have been national president, if I'm right. So, you know, as a consultant, you're paid by the hour. So your billable hours count.
Yeah.
And in Belgium, we have quite a demanding structure from a national president with 2 language areas, 64 chapters that all throw a party at least once a year, that all have some educational programs, some senator.
Billable hours.
So my billable hours dropped down.
But your experience improved.
Yes, and I realized one important lesson that my mentor Zig Ziglar already told me 7 years earlier. But you know how it goes when somebody says to you, it goes into the one ear, it goes out to the other ear, but it doesn't stick until something hits you. And this hit me in my pocket. In the face too, but mainly in my pocket. So I said to my associate, Luc Schmidt, we're doing things wrong. I mean, we're making other companies rich, but we're not creating anything for ourselves. We're not.
So what was the thing that went in and went out again? What was it?
So what was the thing that went in and went out but didn't stick until then? We have to be able to create a system for ourselves where we have the opportunity to get time that we invest loose from our income streams and our results. As a consultant, you exchange your time for money. And we wanted to go to where we exchange our knowledge and our results for money, but it is not connected anymore with the time that we invest in it. That's the major shift that we made. Now, in order to make that shift, we had to sell ourselves different. We do not longer sell ourselves as consultant. We sell ourselves as businessdevelopment.be. and we go to IT startups who are nerds and who lack marketing knowledge, who lack sales skills, the things that we are good at, and we lack the programming knowledge. I mean, you don't have to ask me to program anything that won't work. But I can explain it. If they tell me it works that way, I can make a story about it, because sales, what is sales? It's a transference of emotion via stories. As a salesman, you have to create your story and transfer the emotion that you yourself have for the product to the customer. That's why I'm always suspicious when a car salesman comes to me and he says you should buy this Mercedes, and I go out and I see that he's driving BMW or he's driving Peugeot. There's something very wrong there. You have to be passionate.
It might happen if you go to a Rolls-Royce stand. Maybe the salesperson doesn't drive a Rolls-Royce.
Or
or Ferrari.
Well, I can accept that if he's a young salesman, but once he's past age of 40, if you're selling the product for
So I
quite
should
a
have
while,
my Ferrari already. That's what you are saying.
it depends what's your priorities in life. The good thing about that is that we did that change. We transferred our organization and we went to search for those startups. The first one was Fidelity. Fidelity is a Belgian startup. EID in Belgium, we all have an electronic identity card with a chip, and the software has made this into a platform for loyalty, for shops, for business intelligence, for communication, customer engagement, all that kind of stuff. And we have helped them growing their business. The second company is CloudPOS. It's a cloud point of sale system that we have helped from, I think they had something like 12 clients when we got on board, and now we are almost at 1,000 clients. So we're helping to grow the business. We're also, with those companies, we're doing strategic analysis. We're making the pricing models. We're really involved. We really become the spare partner on marketing and commercial of the business owners, of the programmers.
In a short way, you are management for nerds.
In a short way, we're commercial management for nerds. There are a few things we don't do with our organization. We don't do legal, and we don't do finance, simply because we're commercial people, and I don't want to expand my organization with legal people and with accountants, and because.
But you're not consultants anymore, like you said before, Tom. So. Do you also partner with them, or do you take a stake in those companies as well?
We're partnering. We have a very elaborate partnership agreement, and that spells out all the remuneration, all the things we'll do. Everything in detail is explained in it. We sign that deal, but we do not take shares. There's a big reason for that. Most of those young IT companies, when we entered with them, they are with 2-3 people working still from their garage or home office or something like that. And they still have to have those A rounds, those B rounds for venture capital, for investors. And we don't want to be in the way of that.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. The good thing about that is we are building organizations that are different, because every company, every startup, we have a third one, Wodon Brothers in the Netherlands, that we partnered up with. Every startup is different. We also partnered already in the past with startups that didn't become a success. And from our side, we work in a no pay, no cure system. So we only get remunerated when we achieve the success and the results that we put in our goals program. So they don't have to invest.
So you have a kind of success fee.
Yes, we have a success fee, but they don't have to invest a penny in us. So we take all the risk in that way, because if their solution doesn't hit the market. If the market says no, we're not interested, even if we think the market should be interested, it happens. We have taken all the cost for marketing, for sales demonstrations, for creating the sales cycle, because people who are not into sales have no idea how much time it all costs and how much experience it costs to create the successful sales scripts that make the maximum results. You always start with selling 1 to 10, then you improve it 2 to 10, then you improve it 4 to 10, and you should always aim for the 9 to 10. So if your salespeople have 9 sales conversations, they convert 9 out of 10 sales conversations into a sale. So that's the big goal. I did it in the first sales organization that I was in, that I learned how to do that, and I'm still doing that. I'm still recording sales conversations with real clients. I still type them out word by word. I'm still using Ziegler's book, Closing the Sale, to edit those sales conversations, and I rewrite them and I study them inside out, and I bring them as a performance. Why do I still do that, and why do I still teach that to my salespeople? Because when you have that sales conversation, when you know it inside out, you can really engage. While you're performing that sales script, you really can engage with the customer. You can have the sensitivity of, does he look at me or does he look away? Does he look left or right? All those little things. Are his pupils big black balls, or are it very little balls of people who are totally not interested in what I'm saying? You can think about the jokes that you'll place in the conversation. One of the things is you talk for 7 minutes and then you have a little joke, so the people have to laugh with it, and then you continue your sales, so you have a positive spirit during the sales conversation. But to create all that, it's study work. It's quite a lot of work, you know, and that's all the things that people never see, never know from people that are in sales and doing that sales job, or that business development job, as we say it, because it's not just sales, it's the whole marketing, it's the whole creation of the strategy, the pricing strategy. We really do all that. When we started with the companies, they had pricing models that could never be profitable. You always have, in a pricing model, you always have a front end, you always have a back end. Most companies don't have a back end. You know, they have one, they sell something, they have some money for it, and they have to search for a new client and sell again that same product. No, once you have hook a client, you should sell as much as you can, different services, different products. So you have to create a back end, because the acquirement of a client is so costly that it's so important to be able to feed that client with new streams of services and products, so that you create streams of income that are recurrent.
I have a challenge. Is it possible, because basically you are saying that you are very involved also in preparing people, sales teams, and people in order to do sales. Is it possible to have a good salesperson that doesn't like people?
No. The very first thing about a salesperson is he has to like people. But he doesn't have to be a talker. He may be the biggest introvert there is, and he may be shy, and he may be turning all red when he talks or she talks to a different person. That's no problem. We can teach all the skills. But the essence of a person who needs to love other persons is essential in sales, because sales in essence is a transference of emotions. And if you're not able to connect on an emotion level with another person, you'll never do well at sales. But luckily, we're all from birth genetically wired to connect with other people. I mean, there really are not a lot of people that are not able to have a good connection with other people. Some people
Normally
are
they are
shy.
called sociopaths.
You have people who are shy. I was a very shy person. I know.
Oh, you too.
I was a very shy person in the past. You can overcome it, and that are all skills that can be overcome.
I can testify that.
Yeah. But love for people is essential. And the second thing, you have to be willing to learn. I mean, imagine you are.
Is it about scripting, Tom? I find it very, very interesting, and I believe Felipe,
Yes,
also because Felipe hasn't been this quiet in any of the talks we had. So I think you're really interested, Felipe. No, but
I know people hate scripting,
yeah,
but let me. There are four stages of knowledge. The first stage of knowledge are the happy people. You know, they don't know that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the happy few.
Really happy.
They're really happy. They don't know that they don't know.
Sometimes ignorance is a blessing, you know.
Oh my
yes,
God.
Absolutely. Only you don't get ahead because you don't know that you don't know.
Exactly.
The second stage is you know that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, that's the point for change. You know that you don't know, so you have to acquire skills, you have to study.
Mm-hmm.
That's what JCI also is all about.
Mm-hmm.
We're all JCI members, and that's why I'm forcing and twisting the hand of everybody who's young enough to join JCI and who works with me to join JCI. It's an environment where people really can learn. Well, when you know that you don't know something, you have to learn. The next step is you have learned and you know that you know, but you have to still consciously think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all remember when we were learning to drive car, you have those stages. First, you don't even know how to start that car without cutting the engine. And then you learn the skill bit by bit, but you have to think, now I have to hit the coupling. Now I have to hit the gas. Now I have to shift gears. You know, there's so many things. And when you start driving a car, your head is about to explode because of all the things that you have to think about. And then the fourth stage is you are unconsciousness knowledgeable. You know it so well that you do not even have to think about it anymore. It's automatically. And that's, of course, the stage that you can and that you should want to become, but you cannot go the stairs with skipping steps.
Yeah.
And that's why scripting and learning from those scripts is so important, because over time, yes, you don't need those scripts anymore. And yes, you can so-called wing it, but you only can get results if you wing it, if behind those wings is a very powerful engine and a very good aircraft, or you'll just crash it. And that's what you see. Many people skip steps. And I have seen it in the organization back in the days when I was sales director over those people. They said to me, Tom, you're scoring 9 on 10. They're starting to drop down. He scores 2 on 10. He scores 3 on 10. Can you join them on a sales call? So I went along with them to the sales conversations, and they had 3 appointments per day. So I went to the first, went to the second, went to the third. And what did I see? We had a scripted conversation, every line scripted, every joke scripted. It took 1 hour and a half and closing 9 to 10. They were skipping parts. They were skipping this joke. They were skipping that question. They wanted to shrink it to 1 hour, and their results just collapsed. Sometimes the scripts are so well made that every word and every question in the sales conversation counts in order to make sure the client at the end of the conversation buys.
That's a way of going over the question that the salesperson might not like the product.
Mm-hmm. If a salesperson doesn't like the product, he should move companies. It's very simple.
So there is no script that can save that.
No, you have to be passionate about people. You have to be passionate about your company. You have to be passionate about the products and services of your company. And majorly, you have to be passionate about yourself and your capabilities. You have to be, how do they call it? Not arrogant, but you have to be self-confident. That's very important. And self-confidence comes from learning, from acquiring the skills.
So going to Tom, you already mentioned, of course, our connection is JCI and also
Yes.
the Senate, but we met often as Dutchies and Belgians in those years, 11, 12, 13, those times. What has been your biggest lessons you learned within JCI?
My biggest lesson in JCI is that you only really know people when you have worked with them. I mean, in JCI, you have an abundance of people that you learn to know from our conferences. The congresses are the best way to experience JCI, and you learn to know people from
we
all
miss
over the
them
world.
so much.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But it's also a great way of networking. But you do not know a person from partying with that person for one night. You do not know a person from having a couple of drinks 3 days in a row in a bar and talking business. You really get to know a person when you work with them. And that's why I always give people the chances to work with us, you know. And if they don't perform the way we like it, we let them go again. But we recruit from a broken society, you know. We really recruit from a broken society. And there are, I know the HR people will shoot me now if they hear it, but
you are safe here, don't worry.
But you can't know a person from filling in some on the computer 40 questions and say, hey, this person will be the top salesperson you'll ever have. Forget it. I've had in my organization people age 55 plus with tons of experience that failed. I've had people with the same age with ton of experience in a totally industry that you think they'll never acquire the skills for IT. I mean, they don't come from that age and they're selling like superstars. I've had young people where you say young people, they are born in the IT age. I mean, they breathe IT, they live IT. They just suck at IT. I mean, they can't work with a smartphone. I mean, I have now he just
they know
7.
how to do TikToks and Instagram.
Yeah, that's it. But that's about it. They don't know how to do business with a smartphone, you know. And business usually comes as a mindset, you know, a mindset of I'll call a person. These days, what I notice, it's very strange. The new generation, people who now turn 18, right. 20, they don't dare to call anymore.
Yeah.
They don't.
I'm talking about that a lot. It's unbelievable. I'm saying they are creating even conflicts because they tend to write badly.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can save a business relation of $100,000s or euros, whatever, with a simple phone call where you talk with someone. It may be a Zoom call. I mean, it doesn't have to be a phone, but at least talk with people. Yeah. I like Zoom. I hear so many people say, no, I'm tired of all the Zoom calls. I'm using Skype and Zoom way from before COVID hit us. And I will still use it way after. Why? Because I can look you in the eyes and I can talk with you. Isn't that great? Instead of texting.
Yeah.
SMS, WhatsApp, Messenger, Snapchat. I mean, I know all those things for marketing purposes, great tools. Yeah. But if you really want to have a connection with someone, talk with them, so they can hear the voice, they can hear the tone of voice, they can see your face, they can look
The
you in the eyes.
non-verbal cues.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a full conversation. When they smile, you can see it, you can hear it through the phone. It's okay, with the chat you can put smileys and all that stuff behind it, but still.
But at some point, it's like Egyptian writing, you know.
Yeah, I saw a cartoon like that with the evolvement of human, and then also the smiley again, where we went back in history. Huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Tom, we are normally we do like a half an hour conversation, and we are already with 35 minutes. And you know why? Because it's an interesting talk. It has been a very interesting talk with you, Tom, because it's always great to get experience, to get knowledge from people that are in the forefront. And it's very interesting that you are not the normal consultant. You are a partner because you assume the risks of the entrepreneurs with them. When you go, you really go. So that's really interesting. And you gave a lot of hope for shy people like we both were. Were you ever a shy person, Robert? You were shy at some point? You. So we are three. We are three former shy people recovering whatever, and there is hope for these people, because I was there, Tom was there, Robert was there, and I think you will agree with me that it is very important when we are in that, let's say, hole, and there is somebody saying, look, there is an alternative. You can change yourself. It's not so difficult. And if you change, it will be fantastic. And Tom, I don't know if you agree with this, but because, and also Robert, a kind of very last and telegraphic question. One of the things that I think that is a very good advantage for us former shy people is that we are good listeners. And when we are selling, when we are selling products, concepts ourselves, it's very important to be good listener.
Absolutely, I agree with that. We have 2 years and 1 mouth to remember us that we have to listen at least twice as much as that we talk in a sales conversation. That's why scripting your questions is so important, that you know what to ask, because if you don't do that, I give you the challenge. Go to any conversation with a salesperson and ask him to ask you the major questions that he uses in his sales conversation. If he ends up with more than 5, it will be a success, because they're all in their head with, I have to tell, check, and they're talking and they're argumenting but they don't ask questions. While selling is actually questioning. You really have to ask the right questions. It's a process of questioning, argumenting, questioning, have the other guy talking, listening, and then put the right arguments. But in order to do that, you have to script them. You know, it's very important.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much for your time. It was absolutely a fantastic conversation as we have here, and Let's Talk Business. It is really what we wanted. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom, and see you soon. I hope in another JCI conference.
I invite you all to Bruges for the European Conference 2022 in June 2022.
You know, I will be there for sure.
In Brugge, hè? In Brugge.
We say Bruges, okay? It's Dutch kind of thing. Okay, guys, thank you very much. And we will be out now. Thank you. So to stop the